I did apologize to the president.
Will there always be a Canada? There will always be a Canada.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
The honeymoon's over. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got new polling data coming from a neutral pollster here showing that the Conservatives have surged upwards in popularity. This comes after 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the mainstream media attacking Pierre on ridiculous stories instead of actually covering important things like the budget. We got a whole lot of talk about this memorandum of understanding pipeline. We've got a bunch of stories in the news here. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Simieritsch here modeling out some polling data. So the data coming from Kolosky Strategies. This is a very neutral, as far as I can tell, polling company. And what does it show? 44% Liberals, 44% Conservatives. So the Conservatives have tied now. The Bloc sitting at 6%, NDP 3%. We look at the official release here. If a federal election were held today, which party would you vote for? And yeah, as I just said, 44 to 44, it's tied. Female, 47% Liberals and 41%. And for Conservatives, 44% female and 45%. More women are starting to come over to the Conservative side here. This split here was much bigger before. As for ages, you can see basically everyone except for the Laurentian elites, the rich retired Liberals, are all voting Conservative because cost of living sucks in Canada right now. 52% Conservative, 60% Conservative, and 32%. Hopefully with some time and less CBC watching, we can convert more of these people over to the blue side here. And a breakdown by region: Alberta, no surprise here, 64 to 35. Atlantic Canada, 41 to 59. All the other ones here very equal, aside from the prairies, 57 to 41, and Quebec 24 to 40. Simieritsch has modeled this out, and what does it show? 169 seats for the Conservatives, plus 25, and 150 for the Liberals, down 19. This shows the NDP getting wiped out, so I don't know if there's just not enough polling data including the NDP, because we're seeing 44 to 44, so I'm guessing they just didn't get enough NDP supporters in this poll. So I'm guessing you could probably take 4 or 5% off of both of these, say 10%, and add that to the NDP and be up 13%. Maybe even more. And more likely, you'd actually have more from the Liberals, like 8% and maybe 4% from the Conservatives, or 3%. Regardless, though, this polling data is not really taking into account for the who cares comment, because that just happened like 2 days ago. So this is going to get worse for Carney. His gravy train is done. Honeymoon is over. People are learning who this guy really is, the real Mark Carney. We got Simieritsch with a simulator here. Based on the current polling data, this shows 41.3 to 38.4, but you'll notice this is back from November 15th, so more than 10 days, a week and a half ago. So this is going to start swinging here the other direction because Carney just keeps sticking his foot in his own mouth. People are seeing who the real guy is. We got table salt with this one. Major breaking documents obtained by Radio Canada show that the Canadian Army scored the F-35 and the Swedish Gripen fighter jets. And what does it show here? 95% is what the F-35 got, and the Gripen got 33%. You can see the breakdown here: mission performance, upgradability, sustainment, technical criteria, and capability delivery. And well, F-35 is a winner on all of these. The lowest is capability delivery, 67. Meanwhile, the Gripen, the only one it's got in the green here, is 81 in sustainment. Mission performance, 22%. Upgradability, 28. The Gripens, like Sweden's trying to dump those on us. We should not be getting those at all. It doesn't make any sense. Why would we buy inferior technology? The Carney's getting attacked on all sides here. We got Nate Erskine-Smith being asked about this Alberta-BC oil pipeline deal. He doesn't want to comment until he sees what's going on, but he clearly has some words.
What's your thoughts in terms of what you've heard so far? Do you think this is something?
Well, I'm going to listen to what they say in here, and obviously we'll see what the announcement is tomorrow, and I'm sure I will have lots to say.
Are you worried this could fracture caucus?
As I said, I don't want to get ahead of this. I mean,
That's a yes. Look at that delay. Of course that's a yes. Stephen Guilbeault, is he going along with this? I don't think so. It's going to fracture caucus. Even if it's a memorandum of understanding, a phony baloney bullcrap thing that doesn't lead to a pipeline, it's going to piss off all the leftists, extreme leftists, eco-warriors in the Liberal Party, like Erskine-Smith and Guilbeault.
I haven't been shy about speaking my mind, and I'm sure when I see the full details, I'll have lots to say and happy to chat about this.
Yeah, Carney's not winning this battle here. He doesn't know how to play the game. He thinks he can just be Mr. Banker and run everything as this global elitist. That's not how Parliament works. So we also got Melanie Joly getting hammered on this. Apparently she didn't read the $15 billion contract where 3,000 people were laid off from Stellantis. She was questioned about this in committee. She didn't answer the question. That's when she said, well, if you're going to have a monologue, I can just leave. Who cares? Maybe all the Liberals are saying that now. Jumping over to CBC here, listen to this nonsense. This is probably one of the dumber takes I've heard all week, saying that Pierre is somehow behind in this situation where Mark Carney came out with the who cares and his attacks aren't landing, which is just not the case.
But, you have this situation where, there is like once the details of this MOU come out tomorrow, that will really determine which way a lot of the Liberal caucus goes. They need to see it and whether they can live with it and whether it can be justified and whether they can sell it. The criticism from the Conservatives, I wonder what do you make of this, Mr. Poilievre calling it a meaningless MOU? Like, the Premier of Alberta signing a meaningless MOU? It's kind of like, I know you're trying to not give Mark Carney any credit, but like, what are you saying about Daniel Smith here?
It's interesting language there, Cochrane. He's trying to use Daniel Smith against Pierre. Daniel Smith is trying anything possible to get a pipeline, and she wants to give Carney the benefit of the doubt to show Albertans, look, we're going to allow him to step forward and do what Trudeau didn't do. And if he doesn't do it, then she's going to be like, okay, time to separate. But she's not going to say it. Everyone will just know. This is the only way she can play this. She's in a tricky situation too, so she has to play it like this. But Cochrane is trying to weaponize that against Pierre.
The criticism is meaningless. Like, you listen to Poilievre in the House today or watch his comments over X, and it's almost comical because it's like, wow, how far have you fallen? I mean, this is the extent of the criticism. Come meet me so we can debate about it. I mean, So what she's talking about here, he put out a couple tweets here. This one, since he took office, softwood lumber tariffs have tripled. Shuttering logging towns, Conservatives now force an emergency Commons debate tonight on it. I'm challenging you to debate me on softwood lumber tonight in the House. And while Carney did not want to do that, he says your schedule is free. You're in Ottawa. Debate me tonight unless you don't care. He also has this one here saying you dodged the emergency debate on softwood lumber. Your schedule is open for question period today. You're in Ottawa. Show up for work. Be accountable. Stop hiding. And well, he didn't show up. Mark Carney's looking like a weak, pathetic, who cares leader right now. Carney is eating his lunch on some of these areas. This is a huge concern. I agree totally with what Tim said. There are areas that the Conservative Party has dominated on topically for years. They've been able to drive these narratives, drive this conversation. And with Carney swinging a little further to their side and taking some of that momentum out of their talking points, it feels like they've had a hard time playing catch up. And so
that is not what's going on here. What is she watching? Mark Carney literally just said, who cares to getting a deal with Donald Trump when it was this existential crisis? It's a rupture. The relationship is over. And now he's like, who cares? Who cares? He couldn't be bothered. I get it. She's a Liberal pundit. She wants to vouch for her team, but it's like, just have some honesty. Like, Carney's getting destroyed right now.
End up with these pretty bland, and especially for Poilievre, who's such a master communicator, but these pretty bland criticisms, like it might be meaningless. Well, we don't, the MOU's not even out yet. And certainly the amount of
This is so weak. Now, in contrast here, we got Sebastian, who knocks this out of the park.
Sebastian, what does this do to Conservatives here in Ottawa who have often gone to that card and sort of played that card of saying, well, Liberals aren't building a pipeline, they'll never build a pipeline, they'll never be behind it. If indeed we see that sort of pathway in the MOU, what does that do to Pierre Poilievre's argument over whether or not Mark Carney can get big things done and big things built in this country?
Well, Mike, forgive me for not sharing the enthusiasm for this theater production that the panel has and that the Liberal-friendly media has been feeding to Canadians and especially Carney's boomer base. Here's the reality.
This is funny. He's saying it right next to Sharon Kerr, who was facilitating so many of those rumors over the past week.
Of what's happening tomorrow. Prime Minister Carney is going to put on a fantastic and wonderful show. He's going to once again sign a piece of paper that is otherwise, by his own assertion, rather meaningless. Just yesterday, Prime Minister Carney said that this MOU will create the necessary but not sufficient conditions for a pipeline. So what is the whole point of going through this process?
And that's why Pierre said it's pointless, because it's not sufficient. It will not yield a pipeline.
I think it's, once again, Prime Minister Carney putting on an incredible show for Canadians on every side of the spectrum to reveal himself to be something that he is not, which is somebody who can actually get things built and get our resources to market. As long as Conservatives continue to point this out, and as long as Prime Minister Carney prevents himself from building a pipeline, which under the British North America Act, I know this is kind of boring, Section 92 permits him to build this, even despite Premier Eby's objections. Until he actually does that, I think Conservatives are in solid shape and will continue to point out this hypocrisy.
But Sebastian, even if he's standing beside a smiling Daniel Smith,
Who cares if Danielle Smith is smiling? Where's the pipeline?
Well, I hope Premier Smith is smiling. I would be smiling too if I was beaten over a bat by the previous Liberal administration for a decade, and now someone is putting out a gentle peace offering. It would be absurd for her to say no and spit in the face of that. But again,
exactly, she has to. This is her only play in this situation. Otherwise, it makes her look bad. So she has to see what Carney has to offer.
Why doesn't Prime Minister Carney set out a date for when this pipeline will be built? He's been asked that, and just yesterday, again, he said that really downplayed his own plans and ambitions for this MOU.
This MOU, which will be released later today, is going to be a big dud. It'll be another press conference where Carney is declaring something. That'll never happen. Liberals don't follow through with anything unless it's ripping off taxpayers or sending our money to other countries that can't be audited. So we got another great ad here. I don't know if Steve Outhouse has anything to do with these, the new campaign manager, but these are knocking it out of the park.
Elbows up.
Everything.
I'm on the edge of my seat, actually. But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president.
He respects strength. He respects strength. And the question is, do you appease these guys?
Never.
Chamberlain, never. Exactly. You stand up.
The Orange Man started going on, working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States. They're going to put tariffs on us. We're going to put tariffs on them. We'll match dollar to dollar. We will target those tariffs where it hurts the most in the United States.
You skipped Canada. We got the best of a series of bad deals. But you can handle them. We can handle them. We are going to handle them. We are going to handle them.
By removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods, and I have played some hockey over the years. And there is a time in a game, in a big game, and this is a big game, when you go hard in the corners, your elbows up. The time in a game where you drop the gloves in the first period and you send a message. But there's also a time in a game where you want the puck, you want a stick handle, you want to pass, you want to put the puck in the net. And we're moving later into the game, and we're at that time of the game.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us.
Did you apologize to Donald Trump about Ontario's anti-tariff ad?
I did apologize to the president.
Will there always be a Canada? There will always be a Canada.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
It's ridiculous, insulting comments of the president of what we could be. I view this as a sort of Voldemort of comments. Who cares?
I want to be a great man too.
In a situation that is existential.
I don't have a burning issue to speak with the president about right now.
I don't want to meet with him. I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No.
Elbows up.
This is so well done. It's all Carney's words, just conveniently showing it back to back. Carney's the new two Randy Strong Eaglemen and the Randy robbing Canadians. Strong Eaglemen. So the Conservatives are hammering hard here.
A deal for Brookfield follows while tariffs stay in place or go up. We learned this week that the Prime Minister stands to make millions in bonuses from Brookfield's success. Why does the Prime Minister have his elbows up for him and his Brookfield buddies, but says who cares about Canadian businesses and working families affected by tariffs?
Since Prime Minister has taken office, that's exactly what he's done. In fact, we stood up for Canadian companies and workers all.
Yeah, stood up for Canadian companies. How about you release the STTC documents?
Why would he meet with Brookfield knowing he's barred from having any contact with them?
The Honourable Secretary, in a few minutes, will be doing his job. He'll be standing up for steel workers.
Listen to this. They don't even try to answer the question. They just say, well, Mark Carney's going to have a press conference soon, so we're not going to talk about his rampant conflicts of interest, him meeting with Brookfield when he's not allowed to. Throw him out of office. This is an ethics violation. Throw him out of office.
His last trip to the White House, he got an $80 billion nuclear deal for his company, Brookfield, which will see the Prime Minister's own personal investments increase in value. So why is it that the Prime Minister is trading our national interests for his own personal financial interests?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister is standing up today for workers across Canada, for BC Wood, building a
This is just more deflection. These guys got nothing. The public opinion is going to sway here if Canadians actually find out what I've been putting on this channel for 11 months now, that Mark Carney's ripping off Canada, trying to funnel our money into positions where it boosts the values of his shares or directly enriches himself. Canadians don't like feeling ripped off. No one likes to feel like they're getting ripped off. So the fact they keep bringing up Brookfield and all these deals, the $80 billion nuclear deal, what's going on in the UAE, as time goes on, Carney does more and more of these to enrich himself in Brookfield. If the Conservatives keep calling this out, it's going to be game over for Carney.
But it gets worse when it comes to this Prime Minister's record on Brookfield. We learned that the Liberals gave $500 million to the European Space Agency last week. Guess who owns 50% of the agency's site where the funds are going? None other than this Prime Minister's company, Brookfield. Again, seeing his own personal profits increase at the expense of Canadians, at the expense of Canadian investment and Canadian jobs. Why won't this Prime Minister put Canadians ahead of his own financial interests for once?
Mr. Speaker, we are in a trade war. While the Conservatives focus on conspiracy theory, our Prime Minister will stand up later today and make...
How can he stand there and say conspiracy theory? This is all backed by facts and sources. In the case of that space agency, Brookfield owns that building and that space agency is in that building. It's all fact. These are registered agencies and businesses. There's no conspiracy theory here. These are all backed by sources. Everything I have on here, these articles, none of these are mine. A lot of these link to Brookfield's own website here. It should be against the law for Tim Hodgson to openly lie because he knows he's lying here. There's nothing conspiracy theory about Mark Carney's direct conflicts of interest. If we look at Brookfield Corporation here, for just from yesterday, it's up 2%. As the Conservatives just mentioned, the $80 billion nuclear deal that directly benefits Westinghouse and Camco. And who owns half of Westinghouse? Brookfield.
This is about also establishing leadership in the technology, and the technology and that expertise housed in the men and women behind me and their counterparts, housed in companies like GE, Hitachi, and the supply chain through here, housed in other elements of the Canadian nuclear, all the way back to Cameco, who will be supplying the fuel.
He just name dropped two companies directly connected to Brookfield and ones that he's invested in.
Do we have to speed up the development of nuclear power?
Yes, absolutely. And for a couple of reasons.
Across Quebec, in Ontario?
Yeah, we have a major advantage here in Canada. We have uranium. We have big nuclear companies, including Westinghouse, Candu, and others. And
there it is. Tim Hodgson is openly lying. He needs to be punished for this. So he got cut off here. He starts again and he says the same thing.
We are in a trade war. While the members opposite engage in conspiracy theories, our Prime Minister will stand up later today and announce major new supports for the forest products industry. On top of $1.2 billion we've already announced, Mr. Speaker. That's how we stand up for Canada. Hear, hear.
He knows if he says this is conspiracy theory, he can try to make the right seem like we're crazy, but it's backed in fact. He should be charged for this. I'm sure this guy's worth millions too. He thinks this is a joke.
Prime Minister talked a big game during the election, but has since failed to deliver on the U.S. trade deal. He's backed down on every Trump demand, from the digital services tax to counter tariffs to softwood lumber. He has delivered exactly zero results for Canadians on the U.S. trade war. But to be fair, he is seeing some results with his Brookfield shares, with the Americans coincidentally signing an $80 billion nuclear deal with his company a mere 2 weeks after his last U.S. visit. So why is it that under this Prime Minister, his financial investments are doing so well, but Canadian workers are being left behind?
This is great. They have to keep drilling down on these American deals that are enriching Brookfield and Carney. But as I mentioned in the previous video, what did they do to Pierre? They took away his power. They took away the carbon tax. They have to do the same thing to Carney. They have to bring up that he's 91.62% invested in America, because then they can no longer say that Pierre is MAGA light, he's Donald Trump Jr., he's all these things, he's connected, he's closer to Trump. They take away that power. Carney's got nothing. What they're doing here and bringing up that nuclear deal, $80 billion, is great. They have to nail him on this. This would be nail in the coffin for Carney.